Welcome, everyone, to Unsheathed Sword Reviews. I'm John.
I'm Vic.
And we are at your service and at your families.
Don't make it weird.
So, because of the fact that we're reviewing something a little different than what we usually take on, it might happen that some of you are here at our channel for the first time. So we kind of want to explain a little bit about what we do. So what do we do here, Vic?
Well, what we do, John, is we collect reproductions of medieval, Chinese, Japanese, all different types of swords, daggers, axes, things like that. And what we do here is we take those, we tell you about them, we break things down into 3 categories: fit and finish, handling, overall value, and essentially we try to help you by giving you as much information as we can, giving you our thoughts and opinions, and hopefully helping to steer you in the right direction of whether or not this particular item is worth your hard-earned money.
Exactly. Mostly the items that we review are not available to look at in stores anywhere. Mm-hmm. You basically order them online, either from the manufacturer or from a reseller, and so you may be spending upwards of $1,000 on an item that you've never actually held in your hand. So the idea is we give you some hands-on idea of what you can expect when you get it, so you know whether it's a good way to spend your money or not.
Just so. Yeah. All right, so this is a damn wicked looking thing, isn't it?
It really, it's very interesting looking. It's definitely, you look at it and you're like, wow, I've never seen anything quite like that before.
So this is the Bestia from Top Knives, I believe. And I believe it was inspired by taking their popular El Chete and molding it with a kukri and coming up with something that's kind of in the middle. Like, it kind of, when you just look at it, you're like, that's kind of a machete, that's kind of a kukri, but not really either.
Yeah, it's sort of like their El Chete and a kukri got together and made beautiful babies together.
A beautiful, sharp, deadly baby.
It looks just like this.
So most of you probably know what a machete is, but if you don't know what a kukri is, through the magic of editing, John can show you right now.
Okay, there we go. Whew, that was rough. Okay. This is a kukri, and this is a kukri that some of you may have seen us review previously. It is the Angola Tinchira by Kaliash Blades, and it is an absolute monster, and you should watch this review. And if you're in the market for a kukri, this is probably at least the brand you should consider getting, or at least look at, because it's a damn fine kukri. But as you can see, there are some very distinct similarities in the overall profile of the blade. So you can tell it's, again, we like things that are based on historical items. And the reason we like that is because they have evolved over time to function based on trial and error. It's like if you make a sword in one shape and it doesn't work, you alter the shape a little bit until it works. Kukris are a design that work. Mm-hmm. They have stayed there are different styles and different shapes, but this shape works for a blade. And as you can see, it's very much evident in this piece as well.
Yes. So now that we know kind of what this is aspiring to be, what it's influenced by, we'll break down the fit and finish. John, what do you think of the fit and finish of this?
I think that in a lot of ways, it's sort of similar to some of the things we reviewed recently, like the Zombie Tools pieces that we reviewed, because it's an entirely different type of fit and finish than what we normally look at.
Right.
Most of the things that we review are going for a period fit and finish that's roughly analogous to what a piece from that time period would look like. This doesn't have any sort of corollary in history, so they just kind of went with whatever they wanted to do. So I think, again, we have to break it down into fit versus your opinion of the style of the finish. Mm-hmm. The fit is exceptionally tight.
Yeah.
It has what appears to be micarta handles that are attached with pins that go all the way through and marry up and screw into each other. I can't remember what those are called. And so it's very solid. There's no room for water to intrude or anything in there. This is a very solidly built bushcraft knife. And so I think as far as fit goes, I have zero complaints about it whatsoever. As far as finish goes and how it looks, I kind of like it. Again, not something that I would ever necessarily seek out on my own. Mm-hmm. But now that it's been dropped in front of me, I'm like, I think I probably have room for this in my life because I kind of like it. Mm-hmm. It is robust. I mean, like if you look at the back end of it, it's like, wider than some books I've read. It looks solid. It looks hefty. And yeah, I like the look of it overall.
Yeah. So real quick, big shout out and big thanks to my friend Avi for lending us this to check out. We had a lot of fun with it, and you'll see. But you're right. This is nothing that I would go seek out for myself. And even when Avi handed it to me and I kind of moved it around a little bit, played with it a bit, still wasn't quite a huge fan of it because I kind of didn't know what to make of it. The longer it's been in my possession, the more positive I feel toward it. And you're right. In terms of the actual construction, this thing is a rock. It is rock solid. It's a beast. Nothing's going to come loose. I feel like if you took this out camping, you could beat the crap out of it and it would be totally fine.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's built for.
I would baton wood with this. I would chop down saplings with this. I would do all sorts of stuff
Right.
with this and not worry about it even a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And now the finish itself. So the grip, I like I like the way it looks. I like the aesthetic. I like the design that it has. The blade itself has what they call a tactical tone powder coat, which again has really grown on me. At first, I was kind of unsure of like what to make of it because I like the look of steel and the different polishes that steel can have. This has grown on me, and I think it matches very well with the grip itself. It almost looks like just a sharpened piece of like melted sand or something.
Angle
You know?
iron or something.
Yeah, like it looks
Yeah.
really, really neat. And like the more I look at it, the more I like it. The more like it doesn't have an easy, gentle curve like most kukris does. It's very sharp and angular.
Yep.
But again, works for the aesthetic because like it looks mean. It looks like you could be out there in the bush and just chopping down stuff, and like it's intimidating in its own way. And fit and finish, I actually really, really like it. Like way more than I thought I would.
Agreed. And talking about that, the tactical stone powder coat that it has on it as we kind of transition into handling and functionality, it is 1095 steel, which means it's high carbon steel, which is excellent because it's too long to be made out of stainless. It'd be brittle and it'd probably break. But that powder coat makes it so that if you are out in the woods using it to like, chop saplings or cut pine trees or something, it's going to have sap all over it. You're probably not going to be able to clean it until you get home, and that's not going to etch or rust the high carbon steel. So that's a really, really smart design choice. And that powder coat does extend down the spine and the front of the blade as well in the handle. So you have protection there as well against the acids from the oils in your hand and all that stuff.
Which that's really well thought out.
It is
because they
very
didn't
well
need
thought
to do that. And
Yep.
for those of you who have historical swords, if you know what a messer is, it has an exposed tang like that and wood scales, and like that can start to rust because you're gripping it with your hand.
Yep.
Don't have to worry about it with this at all. Like that's a really good design choice.
Right, and the wood will retain moisture and make it rust from the inside too, whereas the micarta won't do that, which is, modern materials are
Right.
awesome.
And I think that's why it definitely shows how smart this design was, because it's
Yep.
taking influence from something historical,
Yep.
but then giving a modern spin to it for its intended function and utility. Like this is made to be something you're going to take out with you in the wilderness, presumably. And like you said, you could get it wet, you could beat the crap out of it. You're not going to be able to clean it and baby it right away. This finish helps protect it.
Yep.
And I like that about it.
Absolutely, it'll hold up. Another thing I really liked about it, and I think we probably didn't, all we did with this is cut water bottles, which is not at all what it's designed for.
Right.
And it kind of laughed at the water bottles, which was kind of funny. Like it definitely wants to cut heavy things that are giving you resistance. I feel like what this wants to do is cut trees down.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's would have been the best way to test it, because it's got a very robust secondary bevel on the edge, which is exactly what you want for that kind of work. It's a thick like wedge shaped edge. You can clean it up and sharpen it quite easily. So I think it's like for its intended purpose. I wish that we could have tested it a little harder, because I think we would have gotten more of a feel for it.
I agree with that. And again, it was my friend's property, so we didn't want to push it super hard just in case, He was kind enough to lend it to us for our backyard testing. But I agree with John. The way that this feels when you move it around feels like it wants to beat the crap out of solid objects.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, but that's it though. It is really, really sharp. So like you can get really clean cuts on water bottles. My girlfriend chopped a pumpkin up with it and just hacked it to bits. A lot of fun, and like with that forward weight, like can really just cleave and like get a lot of force in its cuts.
Absolutely.
But you're right. I like how you said like it laughed out the water bottles, because it was almost like it looked at us like, really? That's all?
This
That's
is
it?
not what I'm for.
This is
not
beneath
what-
me,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have zero doubts that you could put this through its paces for what it's intended to do, and it would be spectacular at it.
Absolutely. And like I am a person that does a fair amount of backcountry camping, or have at various points in my life, building shelters in the woods and stuff like that. And honestly, I can see this being the big tool that I bring with me. I think it's versatile. I would have no problem shaping poles, putting a spiky point on a thing to drive into the ground. It would be, I could notch logs with it if I wanted to build a cabin. There's a lot that you could do with this, and it would work really well for. So yeah, functionality, I'm impressed with it.
As am I.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with it. So, and like leading into overall value, we've talked a little bit about the fit and finish. We kind of like that. The functionality seems top notch. Costs $330.
All right, here's the deal. I'm going to make a very clear distinction here. If something like this is what you want, if you want something that is tactical with a little bit of historical inspiration, if you want something that is going to be a tool that you're going to use when you go camping or do anything like that, I think this is very well built. I think it looks very attractive and actually handles pretty well. And I think you wouldn't go wrong buying this. That said, this is not the kind of thing that I normally am attracted to. While I'm very happy that I got to experience it, again, thank you, Avi, for letting me handle it. It's always fun to experience things that are kind of outside your wheelhouse so you can gain a new appreciation for them. And I appreciate the hell out of this. I think this is a great item. I personally would not spend $330 on it because my tastes lean historical. If you are interested in this and it's caught your attention, I think you would be very happy with it. So yeah, I would recommend buying it. But it's a personal no for me, but I definitely think if it's up your alley, you should get it. What do you think, John?
I'm considering buying it, to be honest with you. I do think $330 is a bit much for what you're getting. It is essentially a sharp piece of angle iron. It doesn't, there's nothing special about the blade geometry. It's a sharp piece of angle iron with a big secondary bevel on it. But with that said, drop me in the woods with this and I'm going to be happy I have it. Mm-hmm. That's a fact. So I'm kind of on the fence about whether I can justify $330. But I can say that if I was to have to choose between taking this out into the woods or taking the kukri that I displayed earlier, mm-hmm. I would take this into the woods because of a variety of reasons. So yeah, as far as a backyard tool or a camping tool, I think this is great. It's probably also a bit heavy to do backcountry camping with. At 1.96 pounds, it does a lot for a tool, but it is kind of heavy to carry for backcountry camping. So that's another thing to think about as well. But, if you're going car camping and you're going to need to, chop down some poles or whatever, that could be great for that.
Yeah, I agree.
So, overall, I think I'm considering it. And it's not something that I would normally consider, which I think speaks to this product.
Yeah.
When I had it in my hand, I was like, I looked at it and I was like, Then I had it in my hand. I was like, okay, I kind of get it. For example, I would much rather have this in Valhalla than that axe that we reviewed last time, for example. And another thing to discuss too really quickly before we finish is that it does come with a really, really, what I think is a really nice Kydex sheath. Mm-hmm. It has good retention. It's got a really, really high-end snap that holds it in. And it also has a cutout in the back, so it clears the sheath really quickly. You don't have to worry about, that's one thing that can be frustrating with kukri sheaths, is you kind of have to wiggle them in gently, particularly if they're really sharp, because they'll just cut right through their own mm-hmm. sheath. This it won't cut through because it's Kydex 1, and also it has a cutout in the back, so it just pulls cleanly out. So I think it's a very well designed sheath.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it a lot.
For sure. So I think on the whole, if you're looking at below $400 on a pretty fun little thing, this is a pretty fun little thing to blow $400 on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with anybody who chooses to buy this.
Absolutely, completely agree.
Yep.
So that's about all I got.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Unsheathed Sword Reviews. Like I said, if this is your first time checking out our channel, go through all of our videos, more historicals, items that we usually talk about, but maybe you'll find something that sparks your interest. And if you haven't already done so, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notifications. Peace.